How do the structures around us change as we move through different places and geographies? How do these structures express culture, heritage, and identity without saying a word? There must be a thought process behind how they are designed, one that preserves their identity, allowing them to be seen and appreciated for generations. And the question I keep asking myself is, how should one design a city, town, or even a house with culture embedded in its architecture? And this is something that must be experienced personally. Most architects and designers read books and don't question.
Nice to meet you. I'm excited to see a lovely home.
And I'd love to explore more of the interior.
Accept what they've read in theory, never experiencing what they read for themselves, and accept that as true.
We walk in the land, man. Very important to walk the streets, walk the land.
So I'm headed to Rio de Janeiro to figure out what that means, because sure, I can read this in a book, but I'd rather walk the land, experience it for myself, and draw my own conclusions and find out how one would design a Brazilian home with Brazilian culture. I land in Rio de Janeiro, and upon first sight, my eyes experience and witness the exotic vibrancy that exudes this place. Cities where the streets preserve the heritage and the houses become its expression. The beach hosts the initial exchange between locals and tourists, but life and culture here starts from deeper within and pours outward. Cristo Redentor is seated at the highest point of the land overlooking the city, arms stretched wide as a symbol of grace and faith. The Niterói Contemporary Art Museum stands as a vision of modern design, where art, architecture, and landscape come together. The beach promenades of Copacabana, Leme, and Ipanema are visually connected by these windy cobblestone pathways designed by Burle Marx. It's almost like a visual reminder that you are here. In Rio, the culture is alive. I'm visiting Rio's iconic sites. The places that are not only popular among tourists, but also hold deep cultural values and beliefs. In the heart of Rio stands the Metropolitan Cathedral of St. Sebastian. Unlike traditional cathedrals, this structure rises like a modern monument, its walls opening to a cascade of light that fills the space with color and silence.
Currently right now I'm at Cathedral. It's a modern cathedral in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. You know, Brazil went through a major modernist period of time with the Oscar Niemeyer and Le Corbusier, and they created this almost cone-like structure. Has like these different cones inside of it, and then this behind me is actually the center where individuals would actually pray. It still has a back area, but I wish the pews that are here went all the way around, like here. Now I understand that, you know, they have to, the pastor and whomever has to meet the congregation, but I think that it's very important that everyone feels like they have direct access to Christ. Now, obviously, the church it's a design, it's architecture, right? But I think it's very important that it's designed in a manner that gives the feel of what we're trying to actually evoke in this particular space.
Especially in this world of modern, postmodern, and current-day architecture, where in most cities, there's no pulse on one singular style. There's a mix-up of multiple different aesthetics, and most architecture has faded into the background, while everything else around it is alive, seen, and appreciated. Here, Gabinete Portugues de Leitura, a wonderful work of aesthetic art in the form of a building. This structure stands as one of the most cinematic architectural interiors in the Americas, built by Portuguese immigrants, but in Brazil it reads as a cultural cathedral of literature, books preserving manuscripts are stacked vertically. So knowledge on the culture of Portugal in Brazil are in books that literally and symbolically become the architecture of this amazing building. So how is this experience, this culture, this rich vibrancy that evolves, then placed directly into the architecture? And I know just where to go and who to see to understand this in depth. I continue on to Gustavo Capanema Palace, and I'm here to meet someone who knows about the history of this building and these lands architecturally better than anyone else.
Hello, how's it going?
Hi, I'm doing fine, and you?
I'm great.
Meet Daniela Costa, professor at Fluminense Federal University and at the postgraduate program in architecture, PhD in architecture with an emphasis on cultural heritage, has professional experience in historic preservation projects in Brazil and the United States.
Welcome to Palácio Capanema, or Gustavo Capanema's Palace. That's how we call this building. And it was a very important building. It was designed by one of the most brilliant teams of architects in Brazil. So it is a monument to the history of architecture in Rio de Janeiro. And it's one of the first office buildings that was built in this scale. And this was very different from what you have around you. So you can see...
Legend says this building, considered the first public modernist building in the Americas, it marked a shift from classical European styles for a new Brazilian architectural identity. The building was designed by a group led by Lucio Costa and the young Oscar Niemeyer, with consultation from Le Corbusier, one of the most influential architects in history. The palace features brise soleil, a design element used to control sunlight and heat. This was revolutionary at the time and shows how the building was designed in response to Rio's tropical climate, not against it.
Here we can see a very interesting characteristic from Rio de Janeiro, because we say that Rome is the city from the seven hills, and Rio de Janeiro is the city of the four hills, because the city was founded between four hills. One of them was this one, the Castle Hill, that was demolished, and there are still the other three ones that you can see still nowadays. So we are on this part of the city that used to be a mountain.
So right here, there was an entire mountain
Yes.
that they completely excavated. And this church here,
It's one of the things that was left, and it's called the Castle Hill because the oldest buildings from the city used to be right there.
gotcha.
And the city was just growing between these four hills and then expanding towards the north. And when you look to the colors of the church, the blues, the yellow, the kind of stone, you see that all of that is replicated here, including the colors. And the material we saw downstairs, they have the same kind of granite that used at the church. So we used to do the connections. Also, all the sea motifs you see in the tiles, it was something also to remember that this land here was sea before. So the sea was very close. So
Wow, such history. You study Rio long enough and you start to see the logic, not just the beauty, the reasoning behind it.
I love the usage of materials here.
The decisions, the adaptations, the quiet intelligence in how architecture here negotiates with land, climate, and culture. None of it is arbitrary.
Have pieces like that prophet in the back. It's a copy from a piece from this very important Brazilian sculpture called Aleijadinho from the Baroque period. So that's a copy too, exactly because they were looking at the future, but they were searching for that's the Brazilian architecture, the Brazilian style has roots in the back, in the past. I think when they designed this building, they were telling a story. But I think that today, not only as a historian, but as an architect, what we are doing is that we are forgetting to tell stories. And what we do today is I want to look like New York, or I want to look like, I don't know, France when I design a building. And so we are losing our tradition. We are losing our roots. So what you see when you look on the historic buildings, especially the church, you can see from this window, you can see some of the same churches in Portugal. This is actually an architecture that's our inheritance.
This conversation with Daniela showed us that the role of an architect is not only to design, but also to preserve culture and history for centuries, and what meaning and purpose an architect should bring to their approach. So how do you design something new in a place where form has always carried meaning? Is that meaning then now void? Should we seek to replace meaning with necessity? These questions haunt me. Next stop, I'm headed to meet an exceptional firm here in Rio de Janeiro, working on a new house in Jardim Botanico. Casa Horto is a house in Jardim Botanico that Fernando and his team are building for themselves.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm excited to see your lovely home.
Meet Fernando, managing partner at Studio Phi, an architecture firm in Rio de Janeiro. He holds a master's and doctorate in history and criticism of architecture, where he was also a researcher at the Roberto Segar Archive. If there's anyone who understands Rio's culture, history, and architecture, this would be that person. I want to see their method, how they read Brazil today, how they interpret the older narratives embedded in the land, and how those stories become structure, space, and form. Not architecture as object, but an architecture of continued stories. I know I have my process of design, but I'm excited to see their approach.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I like to look at architecture from the approach of context. So my own personal approach is I have a 5-point system. It's called context, elements, patterns, perspective, and information. And so for me, what I like to do is create a narrative and a set of arcs, or what I call stories. And so what I want to do here, as we're sitting in your beautiful office in your almost finished home, Casa Horto, if you can tell me about this house and Brazil and the relation of it all in the form of a sketch, if you will.
Ok. Então, a gente sentiu
We felt an interesting connection with several points you brought up. We always start from very attentive observation and very close analysis of the site and the people we are designing for.
Is this is part of the home?
Yeah.
Oh, this is really nice. So you have like exposed.
Yeah.
Nice.
We discovered that during the construction.
Wow.
Because we have.
We begin to analyze old documents and the old construction itself, and through this age information and the condition of the site, we begin to see how this house was built. So for example, the ground floor has a somewhat irregular plan and a stone wall which we found during the construction, a large foundational stone on which the house rested at several points. This is not a house that is born from a planned project as whole, but it grows from what we call in Brazil paxadinos. So the families grow, their needs grow, and eventually the house grows, or it is sold to another owner. In this specific location, next to the Tijuca forest, you get a continuous series of houses with a shared internal street that belongs to the dense neighboring community. For this traditional housing, the architecture starts from a certain notion of privacy. The portion where we are now is a kind of an entrance patio or inner courtyard. The access to the interior of the house was from this area. Traditionally, a patio is a square-shaped entrance of the house, which generally has rooms around it and remains open roof from the middle. And a central access patio that serves both as an entrance space and as a space for socialization and interaction with all the neighbors.
Maybe we don't have, as I said, not only one heart of the house. Here we have another heart of the house, which is the fireplace and the living room. And so much of the geometry and the structure conveys to the kitchen, which is another, let's say, heart. The house, which is in the central place, the house. And So here is the place where you are cooking, and you see this the secondary living room, the courtyard, the fountain.
So pretty much this is like view corridors everywhere. You can see outside, you can see upstairs, you can check on everything while you're in this, like the second art of the homeland.
We also wanted to have some openings for the light and airflow to allow better lighting and ventilation inside the closed structured house. The idea arose to introduce new reinforced concrete structural elements that could be added to the original load-bearing structure to prop up the slabs and some beams, so that we could achieve new openings both to the exterior and to the interior of the house through the help of the new skeleton.
I mean, where did you guys get this from? Like, where do you source this?
From a small city of Minas Gerais, which is a rural area near from here.
Okay.
So now with internet, it's not so easy, but it's not difficult to write to people. They send us photos. We say more here.
Oh, so they're actually custom.
Yeah.
Wow, nice. Okay.
This is a traditional element of Brazilian or popular Brazilian architecture, which is the chuveirão, they say, which is a shower or right shower.
Right.
And if we can turn on, which is.
Wow.
There's so much to take in here. It's remarkable how Fernando, his wife, and the Studio Phi team created this masterpiece, not by fighting with cultural and natural challenges, but by adapting to them and designing the house in harmony with both.
Here in Rio de Janeiro at the Parque de Lage, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's currently raining. The weather here has a very, I'm from the Caribbean, so I'm just going to use that reference as a comparison. It has a very Caribbean-like approach where it rains for 20 minutes and then the sun is out. And it rains again for 15 minutes and the sun is back out. So it's kind of like...
At the foot of the mountain, the land gathers into one of Brazil's quiet masterpieces, Jardim Botanico. Founded in 1808 by the Portuguese crown, this was never intended to be a pleasure garden alone. It emerged as a living laboratory of empire, a ground where spices, medicinal plants, and rare species from distant continents were cultivated, studied, and folded into the ambitions of a young nation. Here, the forest does not remain distant from architecture. The land instructed builders to adapt to climate, to invite breeze, to design with humidity rather than against it. The environment maintains constant motion, and architecture must discover its cadence within that movement. This sensibility reflects a broader Brazilian understanding. In Brazil, architecture cannot be separated from history, culture, or forest.
As architects, it's very important to walk the land. Most architects operate today reading these books, and they follow them as gospel as if things have not changed, as if technology has not altered human behavior as it was then. In order for you to really understand how a space is experienced, you have to go walk the land for yourself, envision it as an architect, and then see how other individuals who are non-architects are envisioning that particular space. It's very important to do this.